Good afternoon, Internet, and welcome to TYT Sports with Francis Maxwell.
That was a smooth intro. I liked it.
Thank you. It's not bad, right? Yeah, I actually stole that from our good buddies, the Game Theorists, because I think he always intros his stuff with good evening, good morning, Internet, hello, world.
Yeah.
But we are on the Internet, so you can watch us just about anywhere. We're in your pockets. We're in your homes.
My family watches from Scotland.
The Scottish national audience has a following here for TYT Sports. But let's get on to what is literally taking over sports headlines across the United States and probably leaked its way overseas as well. And that is Tom Brady, and that is DeflateGate, and that is Roger Goodell, and that is the all-empowering monster that is the NFL. First, we have to talk about what El Prez from Barstool Sports, a popular blog here in America that is pretty chauvinistic and has a very comedic way of writing, including being, I think they coined the word douchebaggery. So the first set of things we're going to get to is the protest regarding Tom Brady's 4-game suspension, Patriots' $1 million fine, and loss of a first and fourth round draft pick, all in regards to the Wells report that came out, a 243-page report that basically said, more likely than not, Tom Brady had his ways with deflating the footballs.
Yeah.
Patriots knew, yada, yada, yada. You all know the story at this point. Please, if he knows the story, you all know the story.
Everyone knows the story.
So first things first, the protest. Barstool threw out these couple tweets, which are pretty hilarious. Let's take a look at those. So the first one is El Prez and 3 of his buddies handcuffed in front of Roger Goodell's offices at the NFL in protest of it, wearing their Brady jerseys, which later led on to them being arrested. So let's take a look at that one too, because there they are getting walked out. Free Brady guys let out of the police in front of the NFL offices. Man, the NFL Patriots faithful are always there.
So, I mean, that's obviously a bit of an elaborate attempt to make your point, but this whole case, no matter what side you're on, whether you believe that Tom Brady should be suspended for the 4 games that he is, whether you believe that the magnitude of the Patriots suspension should be that amount, this example exploits the flaw in the NFL system when it comes to the balls that are actually delivered to the game, because the NFL should be in charge of just having a ball that they believe is the right weight for everyone. No difference whether you can move up and down a weight depending on the player. One ball, one weight size, have that delivered by the officials so there's no one else who can be tinkering in either side. That should be a rule. So I don't blame guys protesting outside the NFL office. They're protesting because they want Brady's suspension reduced or whatever, but people should be protesting to try and get the rules changed to prevent something like this in the future. However, we don't want anything. From a media standpoint, the more things end in gate, the better, because then we get to talk about it. Everyone puts gate on the end of it. The more controversies. I think journalists love writing conspiracy theory.
Scandalous
Conspiracy
headlines.
theory is it's like you can just imagine them sitting in their office, and as soon as someone mentions conspiracy theory,
well, the best thing was, and I forgot who tweeted it out, but they said if Watergate happened today, it would be Watergate-gate.
Yeah.
Genius. So, all fantastic points, and as we've been talking on TYT Sports for a while now, and this seems to be pretty much agreed. Yeah, let's get 12 of the same fucking footballs on the field, done by the refs. Who cares about the weight pressure of it? They decide, play with them, win the game that way.
Yeah.
This one's good, though. The Jets, New York Jets faithfuls, bought 12 billboards around the great state of New Jersey and the great state of New York. And let's see what they had to say regarding the Jets billboard. So we have a tweet of that. I believe a picture of that. There we go. Tom Shady, Jets, 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 Jets. Those are all around the New Jersey Turnpike, Garden State Parkway.
Ballsy.
It is. I love that in this country that you can pay, that you can pay to do that. And you know, if you're putting your money into your teams, it really just shows how faithful we are to our sports.
Well, I mean, I've got the perspective of not really having a certain allegiance. I mean, I like the Vikings, but that was just my preference when I came here.
Yeah.
But I'm not, so I don't have the passion that a lot of people do here. But if it was Celtic and Rangers and this happened to Rangers, then I'm the first person to get on the bandwagon. Like, yeah, kick them out, because you just like to get involved when the team that you have grown up to despise is on the receiving end of a problem. When Rangers suffered the financial problems, I was the first to laugh. But when you think about it, like it's hard for me to judge, but this is just a fun example of how the rivals will turn this around and make it their own positive, which is what everyone should do.
Right. Sports is more than a culture. It's a lifestyle in every country in the world, whether it be world football, whether it be American football. It doesn't matter. We will go to crazy lengths to show how we feel about our sports teams, including breaking down into tiers whenever my Mets win a championship, World Series, and my Knicks win the finals.
And taking enormous joy when your rival team comes under a lot of scrutiny.
I got to say, there was a point in NFL history that my father would always tell me that when the Giants were not doing so well, winning 2 or 3 games a year, as long as one of those wins came against the Dallas Cowboys, bravo, boys, we did it.
Good win. Yeah.
We can rest easy till next year. So now let's move on to another talking point for this, because this is my feelings regarding this whole DeflateGate scandal. I think the mainstream media basically has failed us entirely, because scandalous headlines, conspiracy theories, for all intents and purposes, are great for the media. It brings a lot of attention, of course, to the NFL, which is the biggest sport in this country as of today. It brings it into the spotlight when it's just the offseason, when the NFL draft is the only other thing that's going on, training camp hasn't started. That's what they want to talk about. They want to continue talking about big-name players like Tom Brady, like the New England Patriots. But here's the thing. When you go back through all of the investigation and you look at this Welsh report, do I believe, personally, that Tom Brady told an equipment manager to deflate a football? 100% yes. Do I believe Bill Belichick, the head coach of the Patriots, knew about it? 100% yes.
Yeah.
But do I believe the NFL was unable to prove that with conclusive evidence that it happened? Absolutely not. Yeah. So was the suspension warranted? Yes. Was it fair? Debatable. I'm curious what you guys think.
I'm very interested in it. And you made a good point about the way mainstream media portrayed this, but this goes back to the whole conversation we had with me, you and Ben about people being objective compared to being subjective. A lot of these stories are subjective because people do have discrepancies towards what happened in the Super Bowl, because it's such a sport that's so rooted in your culture that you're going to have people writing based on their hatred towards the Patriots and Tom Brady, because perhaps their team were disgruntled by this, because it's something that influenced the decision one way or another. So people will be giving you a very subjective point of view. You might not get the full story, but as you said, and you make a good point, based on the evidence there, then yes, I do believe that he was involved in it. And yes, I do believe that the New England Patriots manager was well aware of what was going on. I do not believe a man of that magnitude, a man of that intelligence in the game, doesn't know what's going on in his equipment. But I'm going to come back to the overlying point, which I'm sure most people will generally agree when it comes to the NFL. The rules need to be adjusted for this. That's the main issue. And it's the main issue that should be, people should take light out of this, rather than being so upset about the magnitude of the punishment. Just be like, all right, the NFL has to change something so that this can never happen again.
Right. I agree with that 100%. Like, I agree with many of the things that the NBA and Adam Silver's commissioner has been doing. Take a note out of his book, because he's making every right move. Consistency. Just be consistent with the punishments. Obviously, we learned a lot about the NFL this year, and with Roger Goodell and how he commissions, he needs a bounce-back year more than anybody else does in sports. Moving forward to Mike Francesa, a legendary New York radio broadcaster who is very known for his rants and ripping apart callers. I'm a huge fan of his. He has a 50-50 fan base. Some people love him. Some people can't stand him. We have a minute audio clip about a fan who called in and who wanted to claim that Tom Brady was innocent. Let's take a listen.
First of all, I want to say that Brady and the two guys are totally innocent.
How are they innocent?
Let me tell you why.
Yeah, let me hear this one. This is good. Let me hear how they're innocent. Go ahead.
All right. Mother Nature, over the last 100 years, every time there's a football filled at 12.5, and it goes outside to the colder temperature.
Stop before stop before you embarrass yourself. Stop now. Stop. Don't give me atmosphere. Don't give me atmosphere. You know what you know is that you're a fan who's a fool. You tell me this. Well, let me in. Well, listen, Steve. Wait a second.
This isn't the whole reason.
Did he take the balls and order the equipment guy to alter them?
No.
No. What do you mean no?
I'll tell you what happened in the Wells report.
Steve, are you going to tell me you looked at the evidence and you don't think he had someone doctor the balls?
I looked at the evidence, and Wells made a mistake on the evidence.
He made a mistake? Why didn't Brady turn his phone over?
It's a kangaroo court.
What do you mean how is the NFL a kangaroo court?
Could you please let me explain why?
No, I don't want to hear this garbage. Give me an answer to the questions I asked you.
I'd like to tell you...
I don't want your math equations. Tell me, you just told me he didn't doctor the balls.
That is correct.
Did you read the evidence?
I read it all.
And you think that Tom Brady did not instruct those guys to doctor the balls?
That is correct.
What are you, nuts?
No, I
mean, go tell someone else then, please.
Francis, is this your introduction to ever listening to Mike Francesa?
There's no other radio station in the world, like other than in an American standpoint, that you can get away with just like completely, just yelling at the guy on the other end of the phone. But it's just funny. But in this argument, when you start your argument with Mother Nature, then you're going to be shut down no matter what.
It really is fantastic. I'm a big fan of Mike Francesa. I grew up listening to him. Mike and the Mad Dog was one of my favorite shows in the 90s, listening to on radio, and that's where sports talking heads really do get a jump start and where you can get some of the best commentary. Is Mike Francesa, love him or hate him? So we move forward. We have a few more elements to get to, Francis.
Wow.
We've got a lot of roundup here on the Tom Brady. We know this clip is lengthy. We hope you're sticking around with us here.
Of course they are.
We have to move on to our good friend Charles Barkley, courtesy of TMZ Sports. We have two little parts of an interview that caught Charles walking down the streets of New York City. Let's take a look at that one.
What do you think about Tom Brady? You think the NFL?
Man. Good job. I love Tom Brady.
Do you think the NFL handled his suspension right? Or?
Well, I think they had to do something. I mean, they had to do something.
I mean, is this hurt his fantasy football value?
I definitely hurt his fantasy football value. But only losers play fantasy sports.
Only losers play fantasy sports. What the fuck, Charles? Let's take a look at the second half of the interview.
So do you think the punishment fits the crime?
Well, that's always debatable. But I think it was just with all the stuff that's happening in the NFL, he was going to get suspended. You know, I'm just still trying to figure out how much of a difference that makes in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Does it hurt the Patriots' chances of winning another Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Would you still bet on them next year?
I don't know. I mean, football's such a tough sport to bet on anyway.
So I must say, first of all, that I love Charles Barkley. I love watching him and his NBA coverage. He is kind of speaking for a devil's advocate standpoint and asking, do we really know, in terms of, I don't want to go to the caller standpoint in that mathematic equation.
Mother Nature.
Mother Nature. But like, whether the ball was deflated or not, how much it influences. I know you told me before, and I'm still trying to figure it out because I'm very interested in this. So the softer it is, maybe it's easier to catch because less likely it's going to bounce off. That's straightforward. How does it vary depending on how far you can throw it and whether or not Brady's just practiced with deflated balls for a lengthy period of time and is more comfortable with them, which begs the question of who can provide some more insight into that, because that would be really interesting to know if they were just like deflating balls for months in their practice, so that he was just
years.
I don't know, and it's really interesting. But I like his perspective. He's not taking a side. He's just curious.
Sir Charles is one of my favorite personalities, and a lot of people do criticize Sir Charles, but he does speak honestly almost every time he gets on, and that's why. And I also love that, like, you know, TMZ Sports, which we get to use their videos. Thank you to TMZ Sports as always for that. You know, a lot of people look at TMZ Sports and they'll say, you know, they're chasing down these guys as they're walking down the street. A lot of those athletes will give him a tough time. Charles seemed to enjoy doing that, so I always kind of look at that. And he offered his opinion. He had a fun time with it, and they answered some good questions. But Francis, before we go, we have to ask our audience to, as always, leave your comments in the comment section below. Let's stray away from the Patriots are fucking cheaters, or are they not cheaters argument. I'm curious on whether you think the suspension and the penalties are fair, or when it comes to the appeal process, do you believe that they will be changed? So let's leave that as a discussion for the comment section below. You can follow Francis Maxwell at @Francis_Maxwell at JasonRubin91. TYT Sports, click on Francis to subscribe. But before we go, we leave you with Tom Brady remix.
And keep your balls full of balls.
I like the balls. I like the balls. To me, they're perfect. I'm not squeezing the balls. Whatever feels good with the balls. I like the balls. I like the balls. I like the balls. To me, they're perfect. I'm not squeezing the balls. Whatever feels good with the balls.